new month, everyone. Welcome to the month of September, the first day in the Ember month in 2023. Now we know the year is getting to an end. You're welcome. This is Business Morning. I'm Ini John Mekwa. We'll do 55 minutes of current and relevant business conversations right here, beginning with what's going on in the grains, a global grain market. We can tell you that wheat prices rose on Friday, but we're still set to end the week lower as Russia, a major exporter, ships large quantities of cheap grain. Chicago soybeans and corn also edged higher, but headed for weekly losses after U.S. government data earlier in the week showed that hot, dry weather had damaged U.S. crops less than expected. The most active wheat contract on the Chicago Board of Trade was up 0.3% at $6.04 a bushel. And this 2.9% lower this week, its second consecutive weekly fall. Soybeans were 0.7% higher at $13.77 for 3/4 of a bushel, but down 0.7% this week. Corn rose 0.4% to $4.80 a bushel, but was down 1.6% this week. From there, we move to edible oil now. Malaysian palm oil futures slid on Friday following a public holiday on Thursday, snapping 2 sessions of gains, dragged lower by weaker rival oils on the daily and commodity exchange. The benchmark palm oil contract for November delivery on the Bursa Malaysia Derivatives Exchange lost 12 ringgit to 3,998 ringgit. That's about $863 per metric ton. The contract rose for 3 consecutive months in August by gaining 3.4%. On Friday, it was also set to post a third weekly gain, having risen 1.19% for the week. We'll take a look at the fundamentals now. On daily and most active soy contract fell 0.16%, while its palm oil contract slid 0.13%. Soy oil prices on the Chicago Board of Trade rose 0.67%. Palm oil is affected by price movement by rival oils as they compete for a share in the global market. Indonesia has set its crude palm oil reference price for September the 1st to the 15th period at $805.20 per metric ton, which put the CPO export tax and levy at $33 per ton and $85 per ton, respectively, for the period. Exports of Malaysian palm oil products for August fell $3 to 1,201 metric tons from 1,238 metric tons shipped during July. Global oil now, that's crude oil. Prices were set for a snap after a 2-week losing streak as they rose for a 4th consecutive session on Friday because of tightening supplies and expectations that OPEC Plus group of oil producers would extend output cuts till the end of the year. The U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude WTI was up 21 cents at $83.84 a barrel, while Brent crude was up 26 cents at $87.09 for a barrel. WTI has risen over 5% during the week, while Brent was up 3%. Analysts expect Saudi Arabia to extend a voluntary oil production cut of 1 million barrels a day into October, adding to cuts by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, OPEC Plus. Russia, which is the world's 2nd largest oil exporter, has also agreed with OPEC Plus partners to cut oil exports. U.S. crude inventories fell by more than expected 10.6 million barrels last week, according to government data. Commercial crude oil inventories have plunged by 34 million barrels since the middle of July. A survey showing Chinese factory activity returning to expansion and moves by Beijing to support China's ailing housing market also helped boost oil prices on Friday, as traders hoped it would stimulate demand in the world's 2nd largest oil consumer. And back here in Nigeria, Dateline Energy Services Limited has entered into a partnership with the Naval Dockyard Limited for the construction of a 4,000 metric tons liquefied petroleum gas coastal transportation carrier barge. The execution of the project officially kicked off with the signing of an agreement between the management of the 2 companies in Lagos. And this is how it was captured.
In what appears to be a significant milestone, stakeholders in the maritime and energy industry converged to kickstart the execution of a project that will transform the energy sector in Nigeria and in Africa, the construction of an LPG coastal gas transportation barge at the Naval Dockyard in Lagos. The Nigerian Navy is confident about the impact of the project on the economy.
It is envisaged that the project will stimulate capacity building and research and development in the energy transport sector, employment and job creation across the maritime, oil and gas ecosystem, as well as economic growth in allied fields across the value chain.
Investment partner Dateline Energy Services is investing in a venture that will close the gap within the gas processing, development and distribution space.
This barge would serve as a carrier, not only a carrier, but also a flotel to take LPG from production facilities to storage facilities and off-take facilities, as well as more or less shuttle between the bigger craft, as we currently have them today, taking the gases from smaller, from remote locations and going into the deeper coastal waterways.
To put it into context,
Project partner Darren Dignam provides more details and capacity of the proposed barge.
for every one barge that sails, 400 trucks come off the road. That's the impact it will have. So not only is it a safer way to transport it, it also means that obviously the road infrastructures are saved, but more importantly it means the CO2 emissions being emitted obviously are greatly reduced.
Away from talks, attention shifts to the main highlight of the event, which is the signing of a formal agreement between Dateline Energy Services Limited and Naval Dockyard Limited, signaling the takeoff of the project.
Another round of applause as history now has been made.
Part of what we are trying to achieve is to showcase the competence of the yard and to also let Nigerians know that there's in-country capacity to do most of the things that we do abroad.
Industry players are of the opinion that the execution of the project will inspire what can be done in Nigeria, a representation of what local content can deliver if encouraged.
Rear Admiral Hamza Kauji to please.
Talking about what local content can deliver, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency estimates that the country's maritime sector is enormous and capable of generating over 7 trillion naira annually and creating about 40 million jobs. I guess the private sector from there too could contribute to that. Now, let's see if the new ministry that has been created can capture this, or maybe there's more where we have in the studio to talk about this and a whole lot more. Dr. Bashir Jamo, the Director General of Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. Good to have you again. It's not so long. We had you some months ago, I guess. But then you didn't have a ministry. Now you have a ministry to yourself, Maritime and Blue Economy. I'm sure that gladdens your heart.
I'm very happy. Good morning, viewers. And good morning, Nigeria. I'm very, very happy. You know, the last time I came, it was about 4 months ago, and we were discussing from crude to blue, and now the blue is reality. We have an independent ministry called Maritime and Blue Economy. So the ministry will be able to concentrate and harness. I can see that the statement says $7 trillion, not naira.
Oh, dollars.
Dollars.
My bad.
Trillion, yes. So, and I believe that with this responsibility given to the ministry, we will be able to harness that.
You don't have any fears at all, have you? NIMASA is a major agency in the maritime industry. I suppose by now you'd have been talking to the minister. You have a glimpse of the vision and plans that he has.
Yeah, we met on Monday this week to give him the brief and rundown where we are and where we're supposed to be. So the minister is now articulating our submission and presentation. And I believe very soon he will now release public statement as a policy from the brief we have given him so far.
What would you have him concentrate on first?
Now, I think he made a number of progress in terms of what we want to achieve on blue economy. And if you can recollect, as far back as 2018, we have been campaigning. We have go around the 8 neutral states. And in doing so, we discussed directly with the governors to tell us their areas of comparative advantage to enable us develop a strategy how we can harness the blue economy. That's number one. Number two, the federal government that time appointed the vice president to be the driver of the blue economy policy. And we have gone a long way. We created thematic sessions. As you know, the blue economy is not only about the maritime. The oil and gas is there, the agriculture, the power, the environment. All the sectors will have to come together. So that is what the then vice president was coordinating. Now we have a standalone ministry. What do we expect? That we will have a number of policies, some legislation that will bring all the sectors together so that we can move forward. So the Honorable Minister, I think the first thing to do is to prioritize. We have to look at the sector, X-ray the sector, microscope the sector, and then understand the priorities, the low-hanging fruits. And in doing so, we will be able now to select which area that we will now start with. In doing so, we have to understand where we are now, where we are going, and what are the gaps, what are the challenges that will hinder us getting to where we want to go. The main aim and the strategy of this blue economy is for us to ensure that we maximize the issue of international leg. No country grow and develop without manufacturing. So also shipping. So in terms of shipping and sustainable use of our seas and ocean, we have to look at the dimensional areas, the national, the regional, continental, and the international. By the time we hit the international, then we are now creating the real economic sector of the maritime industry and the blue economy. We start exporting. And in that exporting, we are now trying to gradually move from mono economy that we are now, where we concentrate on oil and gas alone. Then we will have the blue economy also contributing to our own export. So in a short while from now, we will see Nigeria moving from import-oriented economy to the export-oriented economy, from crude to blue. And at the end of the day...
But it seems we have a long route before we can get there, because we still have, for instance, infrastructural issues. We still have, for instance, policy, fines, taxes, as discouraging factors, to boost activities around the blue economy and the maritime. And all of this will require a lot of funds. And at this point, getting those funds is also a challenge. So I just wonder how we can accelerate that.
No, you're correct to a large extent. But as I told you, we have put, remember the last regime, there are areas of ease of doing business. And all those ease of doing business try to encourage and reduce the multiple taxations. And when this government came in, you had the spokesman and the special assistants on revenue mentioning that they are going to streamline the collection of revenue, all in the bid to see how we can reduce multiple taxation so that we can reduce the burden of those people intend coming to invest in the country. So in so doing, we are going to see stimulating policies that will help galvanize and encourage foreign direct investment in the blue economy sector. So that is number one. On the issue of infrastructure, the infrastructural issues, yes, is very germane and is very costly. But we have reached a number of successes in terms of PPP arrangement. The infrastructure will help in also improving and moving the blue economy forward. Now, all over the world now, they tend to reduce the concentrations of government investment in terms of infrastructure. So we try to see how we can get investors to come and partner with us to see what we can achieve in doing so. So when it comes to that, I usually discuss the issue of the enabling triangle. What is the enabling triangle in terms of achieving this blue economy? The angle number one, it has to do with security. We have achieved a lot within the last 2 years. Almost zero piracy attacks in our own territorial waters. So, and then we have the SPOMO Act, Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime-Related Offences Act, which, as of today, from that act, Nigeria is number one in Africa to enact standalone act that can deal with such crimes. Then the second angle, it has to do with the infrastructures, as I said. Now, while the Nigerian Navy, they are doing their best to improve on their infrastructure to see how they can address the issue of insecurity in our own territorial waters, NIMASA developed the Deep Blue Project. And this Deep Blue Project helped in a great means, and we continue to sustain that particular Deep Blue Project in order to ensure that we don't have any issues and we continue to sustain that tempo. So that's on the area of infrastructure. Then the good governance. The issue of corruption was to be reduced, the issue or eliminated, if possible, and then the issue of interventionary policies. Each sector we look at and we have some gaps. So policies will be formulated to address such gaps and stimulate the encouragement of this blue economy and the export-oriented economy.
Yeah, policies formulated and implemented, because a lot of times we do have the policies, but implementing it becomes another kettle of fish.
Yeah, that is why this government, I want to congratulate the government, they introduced the ministry. So the ministry will have ample time and opportunity to evaluate and monitor the issue of these policies to ensure that it's being implemented. When it's scattered here and there, then you have problems of where to see the faults and the problems. Do you understand? But as soon as you have a dedicated ministry to look at that, then there will be a concentration on the issue of monitoring and evaluations. Yes, we have the policies on ground, but the problem is that who monitor what and who does what. Many times you see overlapping functions. So at the end of the day, you will get some problems and issues between one ministry to another. But this is going to help to make sure that we achieve our own target. We have our own a kind of action plan, deliverables, key performance indicators, and timelines of achieving that. And you have a dedicated minister to supervise and look at all those things, call everybody to fall in line and make sure that we achieve what we want to achieve.
Some Nigerians did express concern about the minister and his background. When we look at his background, we don't really see experience in maritime or blue economy, and now he's heading a whole ministry. Is that of concern to you?
You can never be concerned. Remember, the minister was a governor before. So minister is for him to supervise and ensure the success of whatever I put in place. And he's to direct. The professionals are there, trained, and they will now formulate whatever that is necessary and present before him. He will look at it, articulate it, and address it and direct as appropriate. In this context, yes, the minister will have to take a little while and understand the policy guidelines leading to the ministry. But the minister is not new in terms of the administration. If you look at the Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency Act, it says that somebody who is professional in the maritime area, or an administrator who is well known in either. So the minister is an administrator, for goodness sake, and a very gentleman, a matured person, and well versed when it comes to the areas of administering and allocating, using also resources. So the resources that we are going to have to make sure that it drives the blue economy, the minister is well grounded as a former governor of a state. So I don't have any problem with that. And I sat down with him, a very fast learner. Sometimes, by the time you discuss with him now, within the next hour, if he went through you will be ashamed, you will be shocked that maybe he will be the one training you. So it's not something that is cast on the stone that he must to be an industry person before he can be a minister. I think what we need is the disposition of the honorable minister to understand the concept we are trying to drive. Nothing cast on stone. So as far as I'm concerned, I think we are very lucky to have him as a minister because he's very matured, calm, and articulate, ready to learn. So within the next 3 months, I'm sure that you will be here with him and learning what is all about.
I look forward to that.
Right,
so how bad is this issue of illegal fishing on our waters?
Well, it's very serious, to be honest with you. And the illegal fishing and unreported fishing is not only peculiar in Nigeria, but all in Africa. Our Gulf of Guinea and other things, we do have Chinese and other national Koreans and other things doing that. You know what causes it? We don't have, before the advent of oil, fishing used to be the second largest sector that provide our economy, that inject our economy with necessary funds. But gradually, because of insecurity, because of lack of funding, the fishing trawlers begins to, disappear. Now, if you look at what we used to have in those days, we have less than 15 to 20% still alive. So we don't have the necessary technologies, we don't have the necessary ships that can go out and do the fishing, which we can utilize it for the international exports. Even the one that we're consuming now, we used to import it. We tend to be a little bit lazy, laid back. You remember in those days also when it comes to agriculture, we are one of the top ranking countries. But because of this crude oil syndrome, we just neglect all those areas. So since we don't have the capacity to do that, these people now lashed on that particular weaknesses to come and start in doing this illegal fishing and unauthorized, unreported fishing. Now, that is another beauty of creating this ministry. The ministry will be aligned with the responsibility of having the laws that will checkmate and ensure that all those criminal activities or criminal act within our territorial waters is being checked. And then secondly, the ministry will look at how they can stimulate and encourage Nigerians to have fishing trawlers, to conduct research, and because we used to have, up to now, we have one of the best species of fishing in the world. So in so doing, the ministry will have to align with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture so that the Department of Fisheries will come under the umbrella of this blue economy and then look at how we can encourage and improve the sector. Having improved the sector, then we will now begin to implement and enforce the laws that prevent this illegal and unauthorized fishing in our own territorial waters.
All right, a whole lot to talk about, Dr. Jamu, but I mean, we can only take this much. Thank you so much, Director General of Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Our eyes are actually on the blue economy. It's an exciting one that President Bola Tinubu has started, and I know that your expectations are high. Nigerians are also very high in expectation, but thank you so much.
Thank you very much
for your time.
And I would like to congratulate the President for, giving us stand-alone ministry that can deal with maritime and blue economy. This is the prayers of everybody, and it's been so. Now that it comes to stay, we dare not to disappoint Nigerians. As you said, everybody is looking forward to see what we can be able to do. And there are areas, for instance, like the issue of wind energy. Those are the areas also, when we start talking, we can spend the whole day talking.
I know that. I know. I'm not even exhausted the question I had, but thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.
For your time. All right, let's take a break now. When we come back after the break, the ease of doing business will be on our minds and our lips. Just stay with us.
Cement PLC, a leading producer of cement in Nigeria, with production plants located in Lagos, Edo, and Sokoto states. Members of the board of directors, the audit committee members, and the shareholders have gathered for this annual ritual. According to last year's financial report, the company recorded a revenue increase of 40.3% to 361.9 billion naira compared to the 257.3 billion naira recorded in 2021. The report also states that the company's earnings per share also grew by 12% year-on-year to 2 naira 98 kobo from the 2 naira 66 kobo recorded in 2021.
So we can clearly see the company in our eyes.
The chairman of the company, Mr. Abdul Samad Rabiu, says the company presently has the capacity to produce 11 million tons of cement per annum and is working to expand the production capacity with the plants in Sokoto State and Ubu in Edo State.
We have 2 lines that are coming on stream by the end of the year. The Obu line 3 and Sokoto line 5, which will give us a combined capacity of 6 million tons. And then by the time, we have those 2 lines, we'll be having about 17 million tons per annum. So what we want to do is to support the government, sit down with, the minister to see how we can bring down the price of cement once we have these 2 lines up and running by the end of the year.
The meeting goes into an interactive session, and shareholders commended the management for running a profitable company.
This company made earnings of 2 naira 87 kobo, and they are giving us 2 naira 80 kobo. It's the best that has happened to the capital market. And Boa Cement is going higher and higher because of the board and management focus to make sure they empower the shareholder.
We have an excellent performance this year, to the glory of God. This is a stepping stone, and we'll be getting higher and higher bountiful results.
The management of Boa Cement is hoping that its latest effort will increase its production capacity to about 80% and remain a competitive market leader in Nigeria.
Watching Business Morning, where we talk about anything that has to do with improving business and your economy. So now we're talking about ease of doing business, and at the top of that ladder is the Corporate Affairs Commission, the CAC. When you talk about registering your business and anything around that, of course, they come to your mind. So we have joining us to tell us what they have been doing in this respect. The Registrar General and Chief Executive Officer of Corporate Affairs Commission, Mr. Garba Abubakar, joins us from our Abuja studio. Good morning, Mr. Abubakar. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Ini. Thanks for having me.
Great. So, recently you told us that you're going to deregister about 100,000 companies. What's the status now? What's the backstory?
While we are on, the deregistration is actually to sanitize the register. We have over 2 million companies in our register, about over 2 million business names, about 150,000 incorporated trustees, and we started registering limited partnerships and limited liability partnerships from January 2021. We have discovered that we have so many companies in the register, but those companies have not been providing the necessary returns as required by law. When you register a company, there are obligations attached to this registration. You don't just register and put your certificate in your briefcase and go to sleep. So it is a requirement of law that you must provide information about the company to the CAC every year. And when there are changes to the composition of the board or to the address or to the shareholding of the company, you are required to notify CAC as these changes happen. And you may be aware, we are presently in the grey list of the Financial Action Task Force because of a mutual evaluation report that was carried out by the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa. Part of the measures to exit the grey list includes introducing effective measures in our registration processes and in the way and manner we deal with these companies. You cannot have a situation where out of 2 million companies, less than 40% of these companies are rendering returns or are active in our register. So this is an indication that the owners of these companies don't really need them, because if you need your company and you're actually operating this company, you should be rendering returns. So because of this, the Commission issued a public notice that companies that have not filed their returns in the last 10 years should do so. And we've already published a list of the first 100,000 companies that may be struck off from the register if they do not file these returns within the next 3 months. The requirement of the law is where the Commission has reasons to believe that the company is inactive by its failure to file its annual returns for a period of 10 years, then that company may be struck off from the register. But the law has also given these companies the option to apply for voluntary striking off. The grounds upon which voluntary striking off will be allowed is when the company has not carried out any business at all. If you have carried out a business in the past, then you have to go through the process of winding up. So what we are doing is to sanitize the register so that government will have a clear idea of the active businesses that are operating in this economy. When the name is struck off, that may not be the end of the company, because the law has given them the option to apply to relist within a period of 10 years after the name has been struck off. Not just the company, but even any creditor of the company. Maybe you've granted facility to the company and you are not aware that they have not been filing the returns and the name is struck off. You will not be able to recover your exposure to the company if the name is struck off. So the law has given the creditor the right to even apply for the name to be reinstated, for him to recover his exposure. But one implication of striking off is whatever asset the company has or any property the company has will be vested in the federal government bona vacantia, because it's like a lost property. So this, as I said, these are necessary measures. It's not motivated by revenue drive. No. These are part of measures of ensuring that we sanitize the register and only active entities remain in the register.
All right, sir, but on the other side, I did a little bit of search on the internet, and we still have a lot of complaints about the CAC portal. It doesn't make it easy for businesses to interact with you, either for registering or anything like that. And I mean, we're supposed to have embraced technology at this point.
I don't know when last you did your interview or interaction. I can tell you there is no agency of government that operates a fully self-service portal like the CAC. I challenge you to check from any other government organization that renders services to the public, and you can ask the members of the public. What we have is comparable to the best you have in the world. This register was launched in January 2021, and it allows you to transact with the CAC end-to-end electronically. You don't need the intervention of a staff. You don't need the intervention of anybody. The challenge we have is some of the customers, they don't check their own internet access. If your internet is not strong, you will not be able to download documents from some are using their mobile device to download documents. Some are using They don't use their laptops. They don't use desktop. So if your internet is weak, you may have challenges. But I can tell you from January 2021 to date that this new registration portal was launched. We've not had any serious downtime. Our hosting facility has committed to providing services uptime 98%, and we have not recorded any serious downtime. You can ask all those that are transacting with us. So, and the stage we are now is every information you require on any company registered in Nigeria is available online. Companies can file every transaction with the CAC, either regarding their annual returns, their beneficial owners, change of directors, allotment of shares. All these things are available electronically, and they have been doing it seamlessly. So maybe you are all research. I'm sure it's not recent. And
it was just yesterday. It was just yesterday.
You know?
It was yesterday. I did it.
No, it's not true. Okay. No. I have the statistics. From our statistics, we render reports to the Public Secretariat every month on our performance. We render reports to the Planning and Research Department of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment every month. We query the database. We have our own reporting tool. We register 98% of these companies within 24 hours. I can assure you of this. The only area we may have issues now is the surge in the filing of annual returns. Before now, we have fewer number of approving officers that approve annual returns. But because of the threat to strike off companies, we have a lot of pending applications for annual returns. And if it has taken company 20 years to file its returns, I don't know why they should put CAC under pressure to approve these returns within 5 days, within a day or two. So for every service that we render, we have service timeline, and this thing is published. And our customers know, and they can hold us to account on that. But what I can tell you is, there is no agency that operates, that deals with the public in Nigeria that renders this kind of services we do as a truly self-service portal. Yes.
You are so confident, Mr. Abubakar. So tell us now, if I were... If I were to register a company, could you give me a timeline when I start and when I can say it's concluded, the process is concluded?
Okay, thanks. Okay. We have two types of customers. We have accredited customers. It could be a lawyer, a chartered accountant, or a chartered secretary. Then we have the public user. You can be a public user. The system allows the owner of the business to register the company himself. But one of the conditions is his name must appear as one of the directors or one of the owners or one of the partners. So the first thing you need to do is to create an account on the company registration portal, if you're a public user. When you create the account, you apply for the name. Name approval is done the same day. So if you apply for a name, you get it the same day. Once that name is approved, you can proceed to provide the information about your objects. You don't need to submit articles of association. The articles are there for you to adopt. You can adopt the model articles depending on the type of company you have, or you can modify those model articles. Once you do that, you fill out the forms. The forms tells us who you are, your name, your address, your date of birth, and other particulars about you and all the other shareholders and directors, the number of shares taken by each director, the address of the company, the beneficial owners of this company. Once you do that and you submit, payment is made electronically, and the system is integrated with the stamp duty portal of the Federal Revenue Service. So you stamp these documents seamlessly, and within 24 hours, I can assure you, upon submission of your application, once your application is okay, there are no issues. The objects are registrable, because where the object alludes to anything that is contrary to law will not register it. Our officers will review this application, and once they are satisfied, then the application will be approved. You don't come to CAC to collect your certificate. You generate your certificate from your own dashboard, from your portal. So even the documents of incorporation, like the memorandum and articles, the certified extract that tells you who the directors are, who the shareholders are, who the beneficial owners are, All these things are transmitted to you electronically. You just open your dashboard and you download these documents. So end to end, these processes are electronic.
Yeah,
there is no intervention. Yes.
Is this what the beneficial ownership register is about?
Yes, the beneficial ownership register is about the true owners of these companies. The law allows you to register a company using another company as a shareholder. Or if you have, in the past, people who are using complex arrangements to hide who the true owners are. But global attention has shifted. The world now, before now, you have what you call veil of incorporation. You may not know who the actual owners of these companies are. You may have to lift the veil to know who the actual owners are. But with the reform that introduced beneficial ownership disclosure at the point of registration or when there is any change, from the onset, you know who the real owners of these companies are. So the essence of this is to ensure transparency and strengthen our anti-corruption initiative. And this is consistent with our commitment under the Open Government Partnership and Initiative and under the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. These are two global bodies that Nigeria is a member of. And part of the commitment is countries must introduce a register of beneficial ownership of companies. So Nigeria launched its register. The register was developed by the CAC and is the first register of beneficial owners in Africa that is designed in line with beneficial ownership data standards. It's consistent with the requirement of the Financial Action Task Force. It's consistent with the requirements of the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, and is consistent with the requirements of the OGP. The register is there publicly. Information in the register is accessible at no cost. So if you go to bor.cac.gov.ng, you'll be able to know who owns what in a Nigerian company. So this is what the register is all about. And you can also access the information from search.cac.gov.ng. Let me mention that this register was developed, the standalone register was developed with support from the World Bank under the Fiscal Governance and Institutional Framework Initiative of the Federal Ministry of Finance. And the register is live, and anybody can access information on the beneficial owners of companies.
All right.
Okay, go on.
Yeah,
okay.
We have to draw the curtains there, Mr. Garba Abubakar. Thank you so much for your time. The Registrar General and Chief Executive Officer of Corporate Commissions, of Corporate Affairs Commission. I hope you will indulge us when we invite you again to conclude this conversation. Looks like time is not ever a friend on this show.
Thank you for having me, Ini. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So now let's see how business is on the money markets with Will Ibong.
Good morning, Ini.
Good morning.
So sentiments, we're going to kick off with the fixed income market. Sentiments were mixed there yesterday. We did see not so much buy interest as much as we would like to see for a lot of people. It's a lot of beats, elevated beats, but not a lot consummated at the end of the day. So we did see mixed sentiments in the bond market, but that didn't, that persisted throughout the trading day. A lot of interest for the 2053 paper, though. Look at the NCB market, is also a bit bullish. I mean, yeah, because yields keep dropping there. So a lot of interest. We're in for the 2022 August 24 paper, and we'll expect to see that continuing for the rest of the day, as analysts expect. But let's speak to Chuka Nwachukwu, who is the head asset and liability management at UBA. Is going to give us more insights at what's happening to the market, why we are seeing this low interest for bonds or papers, NTB papers in the market. Good morning, Chuka. It's good to have you on the program.
Good morning, William.
Chuka, in the bond and treasury bills market, we did see yields declining with a wide bid to offer spread. Can you tell us what drove that yesterday?
Okay, thank you very much. Like you rightly mentioned, we've seen a decline in yield, especially this week. This is as a result of system liquidity. Fact came in on Monday, where over 900 billion was shared among the three levels of government, the federal, state, and then local government. And so that brought a whole lot of liquidity into the system. In fact, we saw yield, we saw rate, interbank rate, drop from 24.5 to 2.5 levels as at yesterday. So that actually played out in the fixed income market, where we saw yield, drop, slightly about 150 basis points. This is because a lot of people need to invest some of this liquidity, and then of course the easiest investment opportunities are the fixed income securities, which is the treasury bills and bonds.
So we expect, from what you say, we'll keep seeing that yield drop. But manufacturers' confidence, which came out, recently, is showing that that confidence has dropped. The index has dropped in the second quarter of 2023. Is that in any way impacting the market? Are we seeing that impact, especially since we had that lower than expected GDP growth for the second quarter as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's not playing out. Whatever is affecting the manufacturing industry is also playing out in the general economy. We've seen that the expectation of the growth, dropped by 2.51% as against about 3 point something levels it was as at this time last year. So this is as a result of inconsistency and as well as uncertainty in the general economy. I mean, the election has just ended, and the president has begun to build his team. Ministers were announced, and so I believe that once the political office holders, especially the ministers, settles in, we'll begin to see improvement in the economy.
Okay, so what's your outlook for today and for next week? Looking ahead, what do you see for the fixed income markets, money market in general?
Yeah, the fixed income market is, activity is driven by the amount of liquidity in the system. So we've seen the liquidity around this morning is open around 250 billion, positive. So that will play, out in the market, especially within the coming days. As long as the system is liquid, we'll continue to see bullish sentiment in the fixed income market, and then we'll see you decline slightly. So on the T-bill side, next week there will be a T-bill auction, NTB auction. Well over 150 billion will be on offer, and so industry watchers are keen on that. At that auction, the last 1 year came out at 13.97, and so we expect to see rates within that within that region as well.
Yeah, but give me my equity. Thank you so much, Chuka Nwachukwu, Head Asset and Liability Management, UBA, for helping us to make sense of what's going on in the fixed income space. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Will.
So we did see the equities market yesterday, Ini, closing up. Lucky for you, it rebounded, and gave you that leeway.
I'm holding my breath for the close today.
You don't hold your breath.
And I don't make predictions anymore. I'm not a market prophet, so I'm just...
Look into the crystal ball.
No, I don't have. It broke.
It broke.
Yes.
No, because I'm sure it's going to close in the green today.
Ah. Yes. Okay.
Will says so.
Will says. All right, great. Thank you. We'll see at 1:30. All right, now, so let's go to the crypto space and see what's happening there, see what the numbers are looking like. Ladi is not here, so I guess, should we expect a red or not? Let's see the board. Well, Ladi was here yesterday, and yet we had a red, so it's not about Ladi. It's just about investors, and we see that investors have stayed in that bearish territory, as we have expected. It was just, that court thing in the United States. So Bitcoin is down again more than 4%, 4.53% at 26,000. And Ethereum is also down 3.34%, $1,646 for Ethereum. And let's look at I guess it's predictable, yes? There you go. It's back to fear. Just 1 day of neutral and then back to fear, hoping it should have crossed over to the other side. Let's look at the numbers now, the prices. We already have Bitcoin is down, Ethereum is down, everybody is down, XRP is down. Let's try to talk to our guests and see that Gilbert. Now, Gilbert, can you hear me? Good morning.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Good morning, Mrs.
Okay, good to have you on the show, Gilbert. Just 1 day of relief and we're back to that really red and fear territory. It's a long wait. I think by now, anyone who's been following the market will know we have a long wait in the crypto space before we hit any positive sentiment. Gilbert, can you hear me?
Yeah, there's this phenomenon.
Okay.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, please go ahead.
There's this phenomenon in the crypto space. There's this phenomenon in the crypto space called the September effect. You know, it's interesting that because this is a historical tendency for the crypto market to have a major market decline or experience its worst month of the year. And this has been the case for every September of the month for the past 9 years. You know, over these past 9 years, it has only had 2 positive September and only resulted in some modest gain. You know, I really see this as a downside risks we just need to pay attention to. But whether Bitcoin moves to the downside or have a sideways ground, I think they are going to depend heavily on some fresh data from the Fed interest rate policy, regulatory updates, and the SEC decision on Bitcoin ETF. But I'm still looking at Bitcoin creating a new high by the end of the year, but there's still a probability of a potential downside, by the way.
Really? I mean, when you say you expect it to hit a new high by the end of the year, and you've just told us the history of September's, I don't know, where is the move going to come from? What factor is going to move it? And how high do you expect it to hit by the end of the year?
Okay, I'm looking more of a yearly high. And I still have my horizon on the 35, 40K horizon, and this should be happening around maybe at the end of the year. And this is going to come from a couple of factors. I think increased adoption, acceptance as a currency, regulatory clarity, and also approval of the Bitcoin ETF. Since the win also in the court that says that SEC doesn't have any legal stance why a couple of these ETFs are not yet approved. So I think an approved ETF as well will also pave way for us to see some price action to the upside.
Yeah, and that decision is October, just next month. So I don't think we have a long wait there.
Yes, we still just have to put our eyes on the SEC decisions and more regulatory clarity. Because, you know, the Bitcoin ETF is going to do more to the market because it will increase demand for Bitcoin from institutional investors. We'll see pension funds, hedge funds that have been reluctant to go into the market because of regulatory clarity come into the marketplace. There'll be increased liquidity and also reduced volatility because Bitcoin ETF means that that value of Bitcoin will be bought and saved somewhere. So the level of volatility may not be as typical as it's always been before.
All right, Gilbert, thank you so much. You'll certainly be counting down to October and see where the SEC leans on. Thank you for your time this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, just less than a minute before we go top gainers, we can see MKR is more than 8% up, and then it's 1% all the way down right there. Let's look at the top losers there. STX is more than 7%, and then we see it's 666. More losers, so more of the percentage for losers than for gainers. I guess that's the sentiment in the markets at this time. Anything can happen over the weekend. May not be the SEC or Elon Musk, but I mean, something can happen. It's the crypto market. It never goes to sleep, never goes on holiday. But that's where we draw the curtain on the program today. Thank you so much. It's been 5 days of, you know, relevant and current business conversations, and I believe it's been worth your time. We'll make it better next week in case we missed any one of that. 1:30, Willie Bong will be here. I'll see you at 10 p.m. for the stock market report. And Laddie Williams, you'll see him tomorrow, 7 p.m. for Capital Market. Bye-bye.